Welcome. So we are going to work through these parts of the notes now. We're talking about the inverse function of a cubic. So the functions with the rule of the form this are one-to-one functions. Hence, each of these functions has an inverse function. And the inverse function of this cubic is this right here. So you can see it's raised to 1/3. Another way you could write that, if you wanted to, is you could say that this is a cube root. You can see what it looks like here. So in our blue, we have our normal cubic here. And then in our red, we have our inverse, which has been reflected across y equals x. Let's now sketch some graphs, shall we? So the first one we're going to sketch is this one. So we're going to begin by finding what our x-intercept is going to be, which is found by letting y equal to 0. And that means we're going to get 0 is equal to x minus 1 raised to the 1/3 minus 2, plus 2 to both sides to get this. Then once I'm here, let's just make that a bit prettier. I want to get rid of this power of 1/3. So that means to both sides, I'm going to raise it by 3. Now 2 cubed is going to be 8. And then over here, we're going to get x minus 1. Because 1/3 times 3 is just 1, so we're just left with that. I then plus 1 to both sides. I'm going to get 9 is equal to x. Then I come up here and I do the same thing for my y-intercept. To find my y-intercept, I let x equal 0. Let me just remind myself what this is. So it's going to be y is equal to, now it's going to be negative 1 raised to the 1/3 minus 2. Now this might freak people out, but all it is saying what's the cube root of negative 1? What is the cube root of negative 1? In other words, what it's saying is the cube root of negative 1 is saying, what do I have to times by itself 3 times to get negative 1? Well, negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to negative 1. So that means that's what this is saying. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So my answer to this is just negative 1. And then I'm going to minus 2, which means my answer is going to be negative 3. So the cube root of negative 1 is just saying what times by itself 3 times gives you negative 1. Let me get rid of that. That looks kind of ugly. All right. Now, my favorite part, giving it a sketch. All right. So we're taking this. We know that in general, it's going to look like this red line here. So that means what we're dealing with, it has a, and I might even write this down, based on this and this, we can't say what the point of inflection is, but we can say that we have a translation of 1 right and 2 down. Or to say it more eloquently, translated 1 unit in the positive x direction and 2 units in the negative y. So 1 right, 2 down. So now let's try our darndest to draw this nicely. So what it's going to look like is I have a point here and I have a point at negative 3. This is going to be atrocious. And it kind of goes like this. Actually, you know, it would be easiest to start with. Let me not draw in the points. Let me just draw in that I have something vertical here. And it's going to look like that. It's going to look like that. I'm not going to put in that point because that point isn't a point of inflection. So I'm just going to put here that this is 0, negative 3. And this point here, is 9, 0. So again, please, hopefully your graph looks better than mine. Let me just quickly show you what that should look like. It should look something like this. So we're going to point at 9 and we're going to point at negative 3. That's what it should look like in an ideal world where your teacher could draw. But unfortunately, you're stuck with me. Maybe this should like come a bit further down. Basically, that's what it should look like. All right, I'll pause this video here. Try the next one for yourself. See how you go with it. And yeah, you can just quickly check it for yourself. Or otherwise, if you're still struggling, you can watch the next video in full. All right, hopefully that was useful. I'll see you in the next part.